So I wanted to talk about self-discipline and the Twix in the bin. I was having a real good laugh to myself in the car this morning, remembering about 10 years ago, I would have been my biggest, I think I was about 87 kilos. Noah was just born, or just before he was born maybe. I was a vegan at the time, I think, or close to that time, a vegetarian. I was just unhealthy, I was broken. I was a fatty. I was just a fat mess. And I had a Twix, which I loved. And I ate the Twix, I had half the Twix. It's a big king size one. I was like, come on man, what are you doing? You gotta stop eating all this bullshit. And I threw it in the bin. And I went back for that Twix. I went back for that bin Twix. And I ate that bin Twix. And I remember eating that bin Twix and thinking, oh, you piece of shit. There's this really good quote, something along the lines of, every time you break a promise to yourself, you lose some personal integrity. And I think the converse is absolutely true. So every time you keep a promise to yourself, you gain some personal integrity. And I think that's why you get so many wankers like me seeming like they're on their high horse when they get into fitness or get into whatever their thing is. The Twix in the bin was maybe one of very many turning points. It took a little while longer to get to a point where I wanted to start taking care of myself, and then after that it was a long journey. But I'm interested to know how many of you guys have had a Twix in the bin story. My journey away from that though was not a straight line. So I think it all comes back to this integrity and actually this self-discipline, which I never really had. I don't remember if I had it when I was a kid, but I definitely know that I didn't have it once I got to being a teenager. And I certainly didn't have it in my 20s, this sense of self-discipline. So the discipline even to make sure I didn't eat the Twix that was in the bin. And I think that lack of trust in myself degraded me physically and mentally quite a bit. So even to the point when I knew I had to drop weight. I got a little bit sick of being massive. I've got stretch marks all, I don't know if you can see them from there, but stretch marks all underneath my arms. My arms used to hurt, they used to chafe. And I was just fat. My legs used to rub together, my back was always sore. And I just knew I needed to take a little bit more responsibility for my health, and even knowing that, I still cheated it. So a few people know this, but not many. But when I first lost a ton of weight, I was working out every night. I started to work out, which is a good thing, but I didn't have the discipline to just do that alone. I didn't have the discipline to stop my addiction with food. So I would still eat shit and I would throw it up. So I was bulimic. So I cheated. I cheated to drop weight. And I would just want the taste. I could not resist eating that Twix from the bin, that tub of ice cream, and I would gorge myself, and then I'd throw it up. And my partner at the time knew somewhat, because she could hear it, probably didn't really know the extent of it. But really that came down to just a lack of that personal integrity, that I just hadn't built up the trust in myself to not do that shit. So I don't do that anymore. I haven't done that for quite some time. I probably had a slip up maybe a few years ago. after eating like a punnet of ice cream or something, but it was definitely like a pathology for quite a while. Something that maybe some of you have dealt with. But ultimately, it's a super unhealthy way to try and get there, and it was little wonder that I wasn't fully getting the benefits of losing the weight. Yeah, that's just a bit of a story, but I think one thing I want to follow up with, I guess, is now something that I find super helpful. Obviously, is training and telling myself I'm going to do something and then doing it, following through on it. If you say you're going to do something, you do it. Especially when you say those things to yourself. But two major embodiments of that, or one real major embodiment of that, I think, is the morning routine. And I want to do a separate video around morning routine. I had always said that I was a night owl, and I would even get science to back myself up, about how different people should be awake at different times, something to do with keeping the tribe safe at different times. There's whole science around it, as there is science for any bullshit you want to believe. But the morning routine for me has been a massive game changer. It's the embodiment of that kind of self-discipline. And meditation. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I think meditation's been a massive game changer for me, and really, really difficult to stay super disciplined and continue meditating, even though it's one of the single greatest factors in mental health, and just absolutely kicking ass. So don't eat the Twix from the bin. Just don't buy the Twix in the first place, or eat the Twix. Just don't throw it away. Tell yourself you're not going to eat it and then eat it. You want to eat a Twix, eat the Twix. They're delicious.